Most men prefer to hurt themselves physically rather than sit in silence with their own thoughts. This is not a metaphor. It is not an exaggeration. It is the result of a real experiment, published in one of the most respected scientific journals in the world. And when you hear what they did, you will recognize something very uncomfortable in yourself. In 2014, a group of researchers from the University of Virginia, led by Timothy Wilson, placed people in a completely empty room. No phone, no music, no books, nothing whatsoever. The only instruction was to stay there, alone with their thoughts for a few minutes. Before entering, each participant received a sample electric shock. Something mild, nothing serious, but uncomfortable enough that most said they would pay to never feel it again. And after that, they were left alone in the room, with only one thing available: the button that delivered the shock. They knew perfectly well what that button did. They had already felt it in their own bodies. They had already said out loud that they did not want to feel it again. And yet, 67% of the men pressed the button during the time alone. One participant pressed it 190 times. 190 times he chose physical pain over being alone with what was inside his own head. Stop for a moment on that. This is not a distant statistic. It is a mirror. It is what happens to almost any man who never learned to be with himself. And what I'm going to tell you now will explain exactly why we reached this point, who benefits from you continuing to live this way, and what needs to change if you do not want to reach 50 years old looking back and asking yourself at what point you lost your own life. There is a word in ancient Greek that disappeared from our culture, and whose disappearance explains much of what we are experiencing today. The word is scholé. Today we translate it as school, but its original meaning was the exact opposite of what we understand by a classroom. Scholé meant leisure, free time, deliberate pause. For a Greek of the classical period, leisure was not what was left over after work. It was the highest point of human life. It was in leisure that one thought, philosophized, and investigated the nature of things. Manual labor existed precisely to free up time for what truly mattered: thinking. From that silence, from those hours without external stimulus, were born democracy, logic, ethics, geometry, and physics. Everything that sustains Western civilization to this day was born from men who had space to sit quietly with their own thoughts. And that time was treated as the most valuable thing a person could possess. 2,500 years later, we did exactly the opposite. We did not just eliminate leisure, we turned it into guilt, into shame, into a sign of weakness. If you are not producing, if you are not answering messages, if you are not posting, if you are not consuming something, something is wrong with you. You are falling behind. Modern culture took the most sacred thing the Greeks knew and turned it into the greatest modern sin. For a Greek, someone who did not think was a slave. Today we take pride in the chains we put on ourselves, and we call them productivity. And understand that this flight from silence is not something new or exclusive to our digital age. Blaise Pascal, one of the most brilliant mathematicians and philosophers of the 17th century, wrote a sentence that summarizes entire centuries of human behavior. All of man's unhappiness comes from one single thing: not knowing how to remain at rest in a room. Pascal understood something that most men never fully come to understand. People do not seek distractions because they love distractions in themselves. They seek them because they cannot bear what they find when they stop. He had a word for this: divertissement. In literal translation, something like diversion. When Pascal looked at everything people did to keep themselves busy, the games, the parties, the travels, the constant agitation, he did not see anyone genuinely having fun. He saw people running away from themselves, using anything available as a shield to avoid having to look inward, to avoid having to confront their own feelings. their own choices, their own lives. 300 years after Pascal, a German philosopher took this idea to a completely different level. And what he said is the most relevant thing you will hear today. Martin Heidegger said that most people live in what he called the mode of the one, or the mode of everyone. You do what everyone does. You think what everyone thinks. You worry about what everyone worries about. You choose nothing consciously, but out of habit, out of inertia, out of never having stopped to ask yourself whether that is truly yours, whether that way of living was chosen by you, or was simply imposed on you without you noticing. And Heidegger believed that deep boredom, that specific discomfort of being alone without external stimulus, was exactly the moment in which that shell cracked. Because when the noise stops, when there is no podcast, no feed, no conversation to capture your attention, that is when you see. And what appears when you finally see is not always comfortable. The questions you always avoid appear. The decisions you made on autopilot years ago appear. The life that is passing without you actively deciding on its direction appears. Boredom, for Heidegger, was not the problem. It was the beginning of the only real solution, the moment in which things reveal themselves as they truly are. And that is exactly the moment we are fleeing from at all times, at any cost, even at the cost of an electric shock. Now look at your own routine honestly. You wake up, and the first thing you do is reach for your phone. Still lying down, with your eyes barely open, you are already patting around in the dark to find it. You go to the bathroom with your phone. You eat while looking at your phone. You go to work listening to a podcast or music, anything to fill the silence of the commute. Every time a 2-minute gap appears between one task and another, the phone comes out of your pocket automatically, almost without you deciding to do it. You come home, you lie down, and before sleep arrives, your phone again. At no point in the day, not a single one, did you genuinely sit alone with your own thoughts. And what happens when you live like this for months, for years, for entire decades? Something happens that psychology is observing with growing concern. People are losing the ability to understand what they feel. There is a concept called alexithymia, which describes the difficulty of identifying and describing one's own emotions. In its severe form, it is a clinical disorder with a name in the diagnostic manual. In its mild form, it is becoming a generational condition. People know they feel bad, that something is not working, but they cannot go much further than that. They cannot distinguish whether what they feel is sadness, frustration, fear, loneliness, suppressed anger, shame, or unresolved trauma. Everything becomes a single thing inside the mind, a diffuse and constant discomfort that needs to be anesthetized in some way. A TV series, an infinite scroll, an impulse purchase, a like. Any stimulus that fills the space that silence left empty. And this does not stay only in your head. It has concrete and visible consequences in absolutely everything around you. Think about the last time someone close to you asked how you were doing. Truly, not casually, but with genuine intent to listen. Were you able to answer with precision? Or did you say fine, or tired, or getting by, because you had no other word available? That absence of emotional vocabulary is not shyness. It is the direct result of years of not asking yourself how you are truly doing, of not giving yourself the space to feel without immediately anesthetizing what you feel. If you do not know what you feel, you do not know what you need. And if you do not know what you need, you do not know how to ask for it. And if you do not know how to ask for it, you live frustrated without understanding why. Think about how many relationships are being destroyed by exactly this. How many end not for lack of love, but because neither person knew how to say with precision what they were truly feeling. How many conversations turn into fights because the person cannot name their own emotions and ends up reacting on impulse, saying things they did not want to say, causing harm they did not want to cause. How many men go to a therapist for the first time, already close to 40, and cannot answer basic questions about their own emotional history? Not because they do not want to answer, but because they literally never had 10 minutes of honest silence to think about their own life, their own expectations, what hurt them, what still weighs on them. It is an emotional illiteracy that no one names as such. A man can spend 40, 50 years alive and never have learned to read what he feels. And he did not learn it because he never stopped long enough to listen to himself. Now understand that none of this is an accident. Every micro moment of waiting you have throughout the day, in the bank line, in the elevator, in the seconds between one task and the next, has already been occupied by someone before you arrived. The attention economy turned your boredom into a product with market value. Every second you spend without stimulus is a second that someone, in some office in Silicon Valley, identifies as an engagement problem to be solved with engineering. The notifications designed to interrupt, the autoplays that eliminate the pause between one video and the next, the infinite feeds that have no endpoint. All of it is built with a single objective: to ensure that never, at any moment of the day, do you sit alone with what you think. And there is a very concrete reason for that. A person who thinks is a person who is harder to manipulate. A person who knows what they feel consumes less by impulse and more by choice. A person who examines their own life makes more conscious choices and is less dependent on external validation. That does not benefit those who profit from your permanent distraction. I want you to do something right now, before this ends. Think about the person you were 10 years ago. Think precisely about what you wanted then, about the projects you had in mind, about the versions of yourself you imagined becoming, about the promises you made to yourself in silence. Now look honestly at where you are today. How many of those things did you truly pursue? How many do you not even remember clearly? And how many were lost simply because you never stopped in silence, without distractions, to think about them with the depth they deserved? There is an entire life happening inside you that you are not seeing. There are pains you never processed that are still guiding your decisions without you realizing it. There are relationships you are running on autopilot, saying the right words at the right moments, without being truly present. There are talents you never explored because you never sat still long enough to hear them. There are important decisions you have been putting off for years. Not out of laziness, not out of cowardice, but because making a real decision, one that is truly yours, requires something you have spent years avoiding. Sitting down to think. Every day you live like this is another day you live a life you may not have even chosen. A life assembled on autopilot, built on the expectations of others, on algorithms, on what a man your age is supposed to want and do and have. Exactly the mode of everyone that Heidegger described decades ago. And the most disturbing thing is that the years pass. They pass with a speed you did not feel when you were younger. And when you finally stop, if you ever decide to stop, it may be that you look back and discover you lived an entire life on autopilot without having truly found yourself even once. The man who does not know himself is always at the disposal of whoever does. The most powerful thing you can do today costs no money. It requires no equipment, no app, no subscription. It requires you to sit in silence, with nothing nearby, and endure whatever comes. It might be discomfort. It might be boredom. It might be an anxiety you did not know was there. It might be the first time in a long time that you truly hear yourself. And that, even if it hurts at first, is exactly where real change begins. Not in a course, not in a morning routine, not in the next version of yourself you plan to build someday. It begins in the moment you stop running and decide to stay with yourself long enough to understand what you truly want, what truly hurts you, and what you truly need to do about it. Leisure is not the enemy of your productivity. Leisure is the place where you find yourself. The Greeks built civilization from there. Pascal understood it from his room. Heidegger demonstrated it with philosophical rigor, and your own body already knows it. That is why it flees from silence with such desperation. The question is not whether you have time for silence. The question is whether you have the courage to face what silence will show you when you can no longer escape it. Because sooner or later, silence arrives. It arrives on a sleepless night. It arrives in a moment of illness. It arrives when a relationship ends or when a job disappears. And when it arrives without your having trained to receive it, what you find inside can be devastating. But if you start today, if you decide today that silence is no longer the enemy but the tool, what you find inside can be, for the first time in a long time, the most honest and most truly yours version of yourself. That is what the Greeks called scholé, not lost time, time recovered.